Right guys, so welcome to this episode. Right now we're looking at a property and I've been asked by one of my clients to ascertain if this apartment that we're in right now, we're actually on the balcony of this apartment, if this is a good property for her to buy. So before doing any kind of calculations, right, what does it calculations mean? For example, using what this instrument is, this is a lopan. So this is used to take the direction, the facing of the building to a certain various things as they are aligned according to the cardinal directions like north, south, east, west, southwest and all that, right? But before going into formulas, before going into calculations, the first thing that we need to look at is the outside of the building, right? And here there's a very good element that we really want to take into consideration. If you guys look, yeah, there's a lake there. Now, Feng Shui, the word Feng Shui, is actually two words, Feng, which means wind, and Shui, which means water, right? So what water has special is that water is a very big and powerful accumulator of energy. Does that sound good to you? Well, it should and it shouldn't, right? Because I didn't say what kind of energy. And that's the key. That's the key thing that we should take into account, and that's the key thing that we want to take into consideration when looking at that. That body of water can be very good or it can be very bad if it's not aligned properly, or if it's, looking at things in the inside that we don't want it to look at, right? So, for example, okay, when we talk about water in Feng Shui, water is considered to be very, very yang. Yeah, that means very active. Also, what we see is that where this lake is, there's a very big opening. A very big opening is also yang in nature, okay? So from that place, which is very, very yang, we see that there's this space between these two buildings in front of us, these two blocks of flat. And there's a kind of a tunnel that is being constructed so that the energy comes very, very rushing towards this side, okay? Now, for my taste, this is too rushing. This is too quick, too strong, okay? It feels like overwhelming. In Feng Shui, we don't only care about energy, we also care about how it moves. We want it to be moving, but we don't want it to be overly moving. Yeah, we don't want a tornado. We want a gently meandering energy, because otherwise that is like a tornado which is really sweeping in and wiping off everything. Now, there's another thing that I want to be looking at right now, okay? So, as you see, these two buildings, I am also interested in where the side of the building is facing, because this straight line that is being forced, yeah, you can imagine this straight line hitting directly in some part of this building. If this hits exactly in the apartment that my client is considering to buy, I will advise him or her not to do that. Because why? Because all that energy, all that flow, all that rushing is accelerated by the very sharp line that is the side of that building, okay? So I do care about where that hits, okay? So if this apartment is not cut by one of the sides of these buildings, maybe I'll still take it into account. Maybe it's still okay. Maybe there are some remedies that we can put inside to slow down the energy, and that can really make it okay. But if it's going to align on top of that with one of these sides, that's not going to be okay for that part of the apartment that is directly aligned to this, okay? So now let's go inside and see where, if and where this is the case, okay? So I'm going to search for this, and if I align myself with the edge is actually cutting exactly here, okay? So what is going to be here? This is the kitchen, okay? The kitchen area is very important in Feng Shui, because the kitchen is associated with health, right? And if the food that you're cooking is aligned with this very strong, very rushing, very cutting energy, what's going to happen is that you're likely going to be sick. I had a client that I did the Feng Shui for, and she was actually contacting me for the health part of the Feng Shui. And the problem with the health part was that she was actually suffering from a degenerative, deadly disease. and she was not responding to treatment. And that was the problem. Yeah, so the problem was she had exactly this kind of structure, a little bit bigger. The building in front was a little bit closer, and just like that, but aligned to this, right? So this is something that I'm definitely going to want to avoid. So I'm going to advise my client not to buy this apartment because the kitchen area is basically compromised by that. It is very difficult to move the kitchen into a completely different part of the room, right? So this is something that is best to be avoided altogether. On top of that, if that wasn't enough, if we look up, so if we look up, there is this very, very strong beam that is up, just above here, the ceiling of the kitchen. So that further adds another, compression of energy in the same area, right? So this apartment's kitchen feng shui is very, very bad, okay? So this is the reason why I'm going to advise my client to avoid buying this particular apartment. Okay, so guys, this is how it's done. This is the second video in this series. If you haven't seen the previous one, in which I'm talking about how I'm advising my clients what to look for when they go searching for these apartments themselves, before I even get to the property, check out my previous video. And in the next video, we're going to see some more apartments, okay? And we're going to analyze them also.